Children's Cancer Research Fund, we believe a world without childhood cancer is possible.
Shalom, family. Yeah, that was me.
That's yours.
Yeah. Shalom, family.
Shalom.
We decided to do another marriage series. Man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. I'm going to show you what prompted this. My wife's going to read this message that she got.
Okay, let me go to the message real quick. This is by request from one of our viewers. I'm just going to read the question or the statement, not really call off the name. But it says, I have a question in regards to marriage. I don't know if it's my personal issue or a lack of order, but if you could cover this on YouTube, could you explain how spouses leave their parents and cleave to their spouse? I'm really struggling with my husband telling his mom this first, or feeling the need to run things past her, and she seems to be more concerned with my husband, which is her son, than her own husband. She wants to be a part of everything we do. And so that is the concern that the sister has.
Yes.
And so we are going to get into that this evening.
Right.
In this marriage series.
Yes. There's a reason why we chose that particular title and that scripture, because it says that a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave unto his wife. So, in other words, it's time for him to stand up and be a man. Now, don't misunderstand this. Does that mean that he's supposed to just cut his mother-in-law off completely? I mean, his mother off completely? Did I say that right? His mother off. Yes, he's not supposed to cut his mother off completely. Okay? But at the same time, he's supposed to be the man. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Good example is like, like let's look at my son, for instance. Let's say my son got married. Okay? My son got married, and him and his wife are living their life. They have their own home and everything, and there's nothing wrong with him coming to us or to his mother for advice on some things. Okay? But he got to be careful not to pull his mother into everything, because he got to stand up and be a man, and his wife will look at him kind of like my wife, she would look at me like this each time we go to do anything. Hey, wait a minute, babe, let me go talk to my mama real quick. She'd be like, she'd be like, man, each time we go to do anything, you got to go talk to mama, you know? But he got to stand up and be a man, you understand?
Yeah, so yes, it's okay to get advice from time to time, but bring every little thing past your mother. And I'm going to take it a step further, not just mother and father, but allowing anyone into your marriage in that capacity can be a very dangerous and annoying thing to one or the other spouse, whether it's the wife doing the constant running back and forth or the husband. If you're doing that and you're just bringing others into your marriage on everything, your friend, it could even be your best friend. Yeah. Everything you and your husband are going through, your problems, your issues. Now, if somebody is abusing you, that's different. Mm-hmm. Okay, bring in the cavalry. Yeah. But when it comes to personal issues in your family, personal things that's going on in your house, your income, you don't like how much money your husband, if you don't have your own job and you don't like how much money he gives you from his check or whatever, or you don't agree with how he dresses or different things of that nature, it is nobody's business. Yeah. And some people tend to bring other people right into their marriage home, right into their marriage bed even. Yeah. Just talking about things that you ain't got no business talking about. And I'm going to say this real quick from a woman's perspective. The scripture says that a wise woman builds her house, and a foolish woman plucks it down with her hands. So let's flip that around. Let's talk about a man who pretty much does that in his marriage. You're talking to other people about what goes on with you and your wife?
I've heard that so many times. I'm going to tell you, it's very uncomfortable when you have a brother say, hey, man, and he started talking to you about things that go on with him and his wife in private, and I have to stop and say, whoa, wait a minute, brother. I don't need to hear all of that, man. Why are you telling me all of that? And sometimes brothers just feel a need to just tell people everything. You don't want to do that because you don't want to give occasion for the devil.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to keep what goes on in your home private, because outsiders might not know what's going on. They don't see everything.
Mm-hmm.
They may only get a peek at one side of it, and next thing you know, they feeling like something going wrong in your home.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? You got to keep your home private.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I mean, we've heard of issues among the so-called Hebrew Israelites where, talking about the bed issue.
Yeah.
A man should not be talking to another man about he and his wife and what they do in the bed. That is a very, very ignorant thing to do, because you are creating thoughts in that person's mind. You don't need to do that. A woman don't need to be talking to another woman about what her and her husband does in the marriage bed. And it's unfortunate that our people just feel too free these days because they hear all the stuff that goes on in the world. You have they call Will and Jada a power couple. Okay. You hear about different things that they're doing, so you think it's normal and natural to do those things. Can you imagine our forefathers, Abraham or Isaac or Jacob, sitting back having such discussions with people? So this is why we have to cut loose the things that we see and hear happening in the world.
Yes.
Don't deal with those things. When you are in marriage, that is a union between a man and a woman. It says, for this cause shall a man leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife. They two shall become one flesh.
Yes.
And so you don't want to get your flesh in trouble.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't want to cause problems in your marriage because you can't keep your mouth quiet.
That's right.
Someone asked a question, which we'll try to get back to this a little later because we're trying to deal with this one, but sex on the Sabbath. That is a good topic to discuss because, we've seen that question come up many times, especially on Facebook. I've seen others bring up the question, but as far as a mother-in-law or a father interfering into a marriage, it goes back to the spouse, whether it's the husband or the wife. You have to have boundaries, and you have to have respect for your spouse as well. It's very difficult for a wife. I'm going to just speak from a wife's perspective. It's very difficult for a wife to feel like she doesn't have a voice because you're trying to get the voice of everyone else or the approval of everyone else before her voice. So if my mama says it's okay, then sweetheart, it's okay. That's like a third wheel in the marriage. That's why the scripture says, cleave to your wife, leave your father and your mother.
Yeah, this whole thing about letting people into your marriage, I'm telling you, definitely got to be careful, as far as that. Now, let me tell you something, okay? When it comes to issues in your marriage, you know who you should consult? Yah. That's who you should consult, Yah. Okay? Now, I've had plenty of brothers from time to time consult me about this and consult me about that because I've been married a long time, and so some of them may say, hey, brother, I'm having this issue between me and my wife, and so they just want some advice on how to deal with this or how to deal with that. That's fine and dandy. Sometimes you may want to get advice on certain things from somebody you may deem as been married a while and understand some things, and there ain't nothing wrong with that, But still be careful on the item you calling them to get advice on. You just want to be careful. You don't want to put too much out there. You want to let it be something that, me and my wife was having a disagreement about moving to California, and she wants to go to Florida, and I want to go to California. So we just kind of going back and forth on that. What do you think, brother? Something like that is simple. It's easy to talk about those kind of things. But some things are just very touchy, and Satan would love, trust me on it, he would love to get some information on you and your wife, or something going on in your home that he can that he could run with, that he can distort and run with it. That's all he needs is a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing you know, you and your wife sitting back and y'all like, oh man,
Mm-hmm.
you know, oh man, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so
You have to understand, everybody is not righteous, so you don't seek counsel from
Yeah.
everyone. We're not saying that it's that you shouldn't seek counsel in situations. We are talking about obvious things, things that should be nobody's business. I don't think a mother-in-law has a right to tell the son. I don't think you should get your wife a piano. Or I don't think your wife needs that. Maybe you should do this. Maybe the kids should do that. I mean, come on now. The marriage is between you and your wife, not you, your wife, and your mother-in-law or your father.
yes,
You know, it should be obvious, in my opinion, the things that you may need advice on. But every little aspect of your life, of your wife's life, your children's lives, and things of that nature, I don't think anyone else should have a say-so. One of those things I'm going to just kind of bring into this because of experience. Whether it's your mother, your father, or any relative, or friend, or family member, if a family decides they want to homeschool, that's one of those big issues right there where a lot of people stick their noses in.
yeah,
Okay?
exactly.
And they
It's a
want
good
to
one.
tell you that that is not good for the children. The children need to be socialized. And then the minute you give them the rundown to say, we like to do this.
Yeah,
Okay, so my children need to be socialized. So they're going to go to school where they're going to be taught that it's okay for two men to be together, for two women to lay up together, where they're going to be subjected to fights, where they're going to be taught that immoral sexual acts, deviant sexual acts is okay. So you're telling me they need to socialize with that with kids who are doing drugs and doing all kinds of things. And so
Right.
they're missing out on something because I choose to get them out of that environment.
yeah,
You have people who are unrealistic in regards to stuff like that, and they will be all up in your business. And sometimes you'll have a spouse who grew up in that household, and they will say, well, you know what, I agree with my mother. I don't want the children to be this or that. They need to socialize. But who are they socializing with?
yeah,
And so in that case, you and your wife have to reason together, and everybody else have to stick their noses somewhere else
yeah.
and get it out of your business, because
They ain't the ones that's gonna have to deal with the fallout of whatever your child go to school and get. You know, they ain't gonna want to be the ones that have to deal with them. You see?
Exactly. Another issue is financial issues.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're not going to your parents asking for money or borrowing money, and you and your whole family got your own income and you got your stuff tight to where you don't need nobody else should stick their noses in how you spend your money.
Yeah.
It's between you and your wife.
You and your wife. That's right.
Now, of course, if someone hears that you're going to make a bad decision or a bad choice, it's kind of normal for a mother to say, son, you sure you want to spend $50,000 on a pair of shoes? No, I'm being sarcastic when I say that.
Yeah.
It's normal when you see that your child is about to make a huge mistake to kind of interject on something like that. But for just everyday situations, you should allow that marriage to be nurtured by the word of Yah, not by outsiders. You see?
Exactly. Someone said something about letting your in-laws move in if they had to or whatever, you know. Let me say this, okay? My wife's mother moved in with us. But let me tell you something about my wife's mother. I call her mother. I call her moms. And she's just like a mom's to me, okay? The way she responds, she respects our decisions. And she is just a very blessed spirit, you know. She has a very blessed spirit, and so it's a wonderful thing to have her here among us. It's wonderful. It's not disrupted to our life. You understand me? It actually adds to it, and so that's how it's supposed to be. If your in-laws come around you or they're with you, it's supposed to add to you. It's not supposed to take away.
Likewise, before my husband's mom passed away, she had asked if she could come live with us. As a matter of fact, we had moved down south, and she asked to get me on the phone. And so she said, I want to come and live with y'all. And at that moment, I wanted to do everything in my power to make it happen because, like I've said many times before, my mother-in-law was my baby. That was my baby. She was so sweet to me.
She loved my
good to
wife,
me.
yeah.
We loved each other. It was a mutual love. So if it wasn't for the fact that she had passed away and she had, it would have been difficult for her to make that long ride from up north to where we had moved at that time. That was our only concern. And how cold our old house was. That was another concern as well. But I would have loved to have my mother-in-law come and live her last days with us. I would have loved to have her in that way. She was another one who wasn't in our business. She respected the order of our marriage. She respected how we were raising our children, and she didn't have no issues with it. As a matter of fact, there were others who had issues with how we were doing things, and she said, leave my babies alone. She would defend us like, look, leave my babies alone, because she knew we had it.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I remember when my son was young, right? He was very proper speaking, very articulate, and just very streetish.
He wasn't like a little thuggy kid.
Yeah, most thuggy kids are all hard nosed, and my son was very intelligent, like a brain. He was like a nerd almost. Intelligent nerd, not the nerds like you see on television. But he was just very smart and just so like that, right? And I had a guy pull me aside. He said, "Man," he said, "Your son, man, you need to make him more hard, and all this stuff." I said, "You mean like your son, right?" Now I looked at his son. His son was like all streets, pants sagging. We talking about kids that ain't nothing but like 6 years old. This boy walking around with his pants sagging. I said, "Oh, so you want me to raise my kid more like yours, right?" My mama overheard this, right? And she said, "Don't you?" She said, "The way you raising that boy is good." She said, "You're raising him good. He's gonna turn out fine." She said, when you try to make boys get all out there, be all crazy like that, next thing you know, you got a young man you can't even control. He done did some crime and got all crazy. And so when I sat there, I said, you know what, my mama right, And sometimes your parent can interject some things and say some things, and they'll be completely right about it. And sure enough, my son grew up and he became a very strong young man, and he works harder than most grown men. My son right now, he's what, 22?
23. He's
23 years old. Let me tell you something. When he was 17, 18 years old, even 19, I've had him working with men that were past 30 who couldn't even keep up with him and chopping wood and doing other stuff. So he ended up becoming that strong man without me having to put him out in the streets and make him carry a gun and have his pants sagging and talking all the slang that he needs to talk. You understand? So sometimes you just gotta look at things and like with my mother, when she jumped in at the moment, it was a perfect timing to do so. You understand? So
well, she wasn't trying to control anything, wasn't trying to rule anything, wasn't trying to overstep. And that is very important, but I believe that it's up to the husband and the wife in any situation to establish boundaries regardless to who it is, because sometimes it could be a sister, it could be a brother, it could be a cousin, an aunt, an uncle, anybody. It could be a friend. There are all kinds of people who will try to interfere in your marriage if you allow them to.
That's right.
And so we as couples have to establish those boundaries in a relationship, making sure that we are on one accord with Yah's word, first of all, and second of all, making sure we are on one accord with one another. You see.
Exactly. But again, it's, just like we said, a man is supposed to, when he leaves his mother and father and he cleaves to his wife, the scripture was saying that because it's telling you, okay, now it's time for you to establish your own family now the same way your mother and father established theirs. It's time for you now to break away and establish your own. Now it's good if you learn something from your mother's and father's union together when they, it's good that you learn something. But now that you have grown up and it's time for you to go on, because let's face it, just like we're talking, right? Many of you, your parents wasn't in this walk. Some of them wasn't even a Christian. You get what I'm saying? And so you can't allow them to control your life, especially when they might not even have the same beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly, especially because of that. When you come into this awakening, that changes everything as well.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
yes,
And a lot of people will try to shove Christian ideology onto you, as it relates to your marriage and all of this kind of stuff. So
they'll try to say you're in a cult. They say, well, wait a minute, what are you doing? You trying to take your family down the road of being a cult? They said, no, it ain't even about that. That's why you need to keep them out your business.
Mm-hmm.
Keep them out your business. They don't need to know what you're doing. Now, let me explain something to you, and just hear me out on this, right? So now, your family used to be Christians. Your mama and daddy were Christians, and now you done came into this, you come out of Christianity, you done come into this more understanding about who we are and all this. Well, the best way to deal with things with your parents, I know you ready to run to your parents, tell them everything, right? The best way to do that is give them bits and pieces. I say, yeah, excuse me, mama, I don't call him JC anymore. I call him by his real name. It's in the scriptures. I'll show it to you, and just show him this is his real name in Hebrew. So so if you hear me call on that name, I'm not trying to tell you don't call on JC no more. See, that's the mistake we make. We go to, you gotta stop calling on that pagan name. When you do that, you make people pull away from you. But if you just say, I just want you to understand, if you hear me call on the name Yahushua HaMashiach, I'm talking about the Messiah.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And I'm calling him by his real name. Okay? Just so we on, you know where we at with things, right? He said, oh, okay. And now there's no pressure on them. You got no pressure to try to convert them. You just live your life. And what happened is your parents are finally come around there and finally see, well, man, there's something different that they doing. They won't think of you as being a part of some new cult, so they ain't trying to butt in and get all in your business because you ain't letting them in the door of your business. Mm-hmm. You understand? Learn how to witness the right way. Learn how to do things the right way instead of trying to always bombard your people with that, your parents that you done left. Mm-hmm. And now you cleaving to your wife and starting your own thing.
Yes, I want to address a question here that kind of goes along with the lines of what we're talking about from Care Bear. It says, can you explain the scripture that says mother and daughter-in-law will be against each other? It says, my mother-in-law hates me without a cause and has no respect for our marriage. I don't talk, engage. Well, that's just a fulfillment of prophecy.
Yeah.
And there could be a number of reasons for this. Unfortunately, in a lot of families, there's a stronghold that parents can have over their children, especially mothers. I don't know if your husband was raised in a household where the father was there too, but sometimes I've seen where mothers can just be too consumed with their children's relationships and don't allow them to have their own healthy relationship. And one thing I don't understand about that is if you as a woman are going to be giving birth to her grandchildren, it behooves her to have a good, solid relationship with you. But some people don't think that far ahead. They think that they can say enough and do enough to drive that wedge and possibly eventually break you two apart. That is a very selfish person.
Yes, it is.
To even believe that it's okay to do such a thing.
Yeah.
It's a very selfish person who would allow themselves to go that far.
Yes.
And press on a person's marriage like that.
Yes.
And put that stress on you as a wife and that pressure on the son, because a lot of times these sons don't want to choose between his mother and his wife. But that's where that man up thing has to kick in.
Yeah.
If you have any relative, whether it's a mother, a sister, an aunt, a cousin, or any female in your life who is doing such a thing, then you have to man up and put them in their place in front of your wife.
You'd be surprised. Let me tell you something. You'd be surprised the relatives that will be in your life that will want to see you and your wife broken up. You understand me? You will be surprised. They will do little things, will say little things, will be devious. I mean, they will even set things up to try to break you and your wife up. Break your family up. Are you hearing me? So that's why you got to sit back and you got to say, wait a minute, what am I dealing with here? You know, you got to see your family members for what they are. The devil can use some of them, right? He can use your mother and your father, right?
And your sister, and your brother, and your cousin, and your niece, and
sure
your nephew.
Can. Satan can use them, and you'll be sitting back scratching your head. That's why the scripture said that prophecy, that mother and daughter be against each other, and father and son, and brother and sister all against each other. And let me tell you something. They're going to come a days and they'll turn them into the authority.
Yes.
Are you hearing me? They'll turn them into the authority. Call you, get on the phone on you. You understand me? Kin folks will do that. So that's why you got to be careful. Yahusha, he made the prophecy about it.
Yep.
So that's why you got to keep people out your business too.
Yep.
Yep.
It is what it is, family.
Yep.
I think too much importance is put on family because that's supposed to mean something.
Yeah.
For some of us, it means something to say that you are my family, you're my sister, my brother, my friend. That means something, but the scripture says, because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. So you can no longer hang your hat on these relationships anymore.
Yeah.
Like our brother Kevin says, family will turn on you faster than a stranger.
Yeah.
It is what it is, but this is what we see happening. Anytime you can put more confidence in a stranger than you can your family, it shows you what time we're living in. We're living in the times that were afore spoken of.
Yeah. I want you to think about this real quickly, all right? Just think about what I'm about to tell you, right? Now, let's say, I'm going to give you a good example how you got to be careful, okay? Now, let's say you have a child, and your child get a cold, right? Well, some people feel like no matter what, you should be running them out of the house to the hospital on any little thing. It could be a cold. You like, well, you just got a cold. I'm gonna just give them a little tea and give them a little honey and tea and just keep them warm and he'll be all right. And some parents would be like, oh no, you need to send him to the hospital. It's like, he just got a cold. You get what I'm saying? This is why you got to keep people out of your business sometimes. And because people will think that when you don't up and do what they would normally do, then something's wrong with you and the way you're doing things. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So this is why you got to be careful with that kind of thing. Because some people, like I said, they run to the hospital for every little thing. Now, I'm not saying that there's not good reasons to run to a hospital. I mean, if I saw a young man came to the hospital ER one time. He was trying to change a light bulb or something over his aquarium, and his foot slipped off the ladder, and his leg went through the aquarium, and the glass cut his leg so bad artery was severed, and they had to rush him to the hospital. Now, of course, rush him to the hospital. I'll help drive if you need it. His leg cut all open. He needs somebody to stitch that up. Yes, by all means. But I'm just simply talking about how sometimes you have in-laws that actually, they think different about homeschooling. They think different about the hospital and every little thing. You got to sneeze or give them a flu shot. Damn, And I'm telling you, this is how things are. Mm-hmm. So this is why you need to keep people out of your business. Keep family members out of your business, Mm-hmm. Your family, you may decide, look, I don't want my child to have a flu shot. And your family members say, you need to get a flu shot. Now you got something going on there. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I hope I explained that right.
Yes, you did.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, a lot of people, they want to force their ways on you. I mean, you can explain your ways and why you believe a certain way, and
yes.
You can teach certain things, but you can't force anything on anyone.
That's right.
That's my whole thing. You can't force anything on anyone. You can just share what you know.
Yes.
You can say, well, I believe that the flu shot is this, that, and the other. It will help. And if the person says, well, you know what, we don't do that because we've heard of cases where the flu shot actually gave the person the flu, okay, leave it alone after that. Mm-hmm. If you shared what you felt about the flu shot and they responded and you all disagree, that's it. That's the end of that.
Yeah.
You know. But some people will actually get upset at you because you don't believe the way that they believe.
Exactly. They get seriously upset, and they, will come at you, and I'm telling you, that's why you got, when you look at the prophecy that the person talked about, that Yahushua HaMashiach talked about, family members against each other, that tells you right there you got to be careful. So when you go off as a young man and you cleave to your wife, and you starting your own union, be careful. It's all we're saying. Be careful. We're not saying cut your family members off completely. We're just saying be careful.
I wanted to say this there was a brother who sent us a question. I can't pronounce your name, but I wanted to just say this to this brother and to many others who we've gotten similar questions from in regards to marriage. If you have a spouse that was married previously, there are a lot of teachings and scriptures about marriage. Okay, some of them are very unclear. We've said this before.
Yeah.
Some of them are very unclear. So this is why you have to be very careful who you take advice from.
Yeah.
In regards to marriage. Okay. Other than obvious things, like the scripture makes it very clear that Israelites are not to marry Gentiles.
Yeah.
That is made very clear.
Yeah.
But in some cases, you have people giving advice on marriage and telling people to do things that are just not even scriptural. We've heard so many different things in this Hebrew Israelite movement that it's just mind blowing.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen so many different scenarios where people have literally broke up people's marriages, telling them, "Oh, you didn't get married the right way," and then that person ended up married to the woman that he told the man to let go of, or whatever.
Yeah, we've
all
seen some
kinds
crazy
of
stuff.
strange oddities going on, and that kind of stuff. I mean, it kind of makes this movement look unreliable.
Yeah.
It makes it look unreliable
It
because
does.
People are being confused. They're being told to do different things that are just not biblical, just not right, and some things are not being rightly divided.
Yes.
You see? And so when you're seeking advice on marriage, be very careful. Don't jump in any direction based on one person's opinion, because sometimes people have a way of saying things to convince you, no, you really need to divorce her. You really need to divorce him. Okay? Mm-hmm. Always pray, seek the Most High, search the Scriptures.
Yeah.
Scripture says that we have to study to show ourselves approved anyway. Now, it's not for us to use the Scripture to justify wrong, because people are doing that too, but we know in our heart of hearts if we're doing something right or wrong.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people come with questions, they already know the answer. They're just trying to get someone to either go along with them or to bail them out of a situation that they want to be freed from,
Yeah, you know, one thing that I've seen happen, I've seen this before, y'all, and these men out there, I want you to understand, you women out here understand the game that a lot of these men play, okay? Now you think about a brother, right, who meets this young lady, and he decides, I want to marry this young lady, and so he decides to take her as his wife, like the Hebrew way, right? So he take her as his wife as a Hebrew way, and so they consummate their so-called marriage, right? Mm-hmm. And then after a month or two go down, things ain't turn out the way he want to. So then he knows she used to be with someone else years ago, may have had a child with someone else, may have been married before. So now all of a sudden it's an issue. Not all of a sudden it's an issue, and I'm wondering if I'm supposed to be divorced from this person or whatever. I'm just wondering because of maybe they already married to somebody else, and maybe I'm in the wrong. And now it's an issue. So you didn't think about that before you consummated it, though, right? You didn't think about asking any of those questions before then. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? There's a game that a lot of brothers are playing, mm-hmm. And so. Then now they got a reason to say, oh, you know what? Hey, I can up and go now because of this here. So you women out there got to be smarter than that. You got to understand the game that people are playing now. Now, I have yet to hear, and I get a lot of brothers email me these type of scenarios. Want to know if they should can they get a divorce and all this kind of stuff. And I say to myself, well, would you be asking me these questions if you were truly in love with her? No. You know why? Because that would be in the back of his head. So we wouldn't even be thinking about if she'd been married before, if she had a child before. We wouldn't be thinking about none of that stuff. You see how things are? You see how the male mind work? You understand? So then, that's why you women out there got to be careful. Y'all got to be careful because this marriage is a very tricky thing, and the scriptures just aren't clear on a lot of on issues dealing with marriage. It just aren't clear. Some things are clear, and some things aren't. Okay.
Like the one passage that says, if you're married to an unbeliever, then a brother or sister are not bound in such cases.
That's right.
Bound by what? Bound by the law of your husband? So does that mean the woman is free to go or the man is free to go if they're married to an unbeliever? So that's why we say there are some things that are unclear.
Yeah.
Okay,
In the same passage, it actually says that they seek not to be free, though. Even though it says if they're not seeking to be free from you, even though they're unbeliever, it says seek not to be free. You're not bound, but seek not to be free is what it said. That's why I said it's tricky. A lot of this stuff is very tricky. Yeah.
So we hope that we have answered the question for the sister who had this concern.
Yeah.
A lot of people experience these things where it's not just an in-law, a mother-in-law or father-in-law, should I say, but other family members as well. And so husbands and wives both, you have to be very careful when consulting others outside of your marriage. Be fair to your spouse, whether it's your husband or wife, because that marriage is between you two. You two shall become one, okay? It didn't say that you and your mother-in-law, your father, and it didn't say you and your parents and all y'all
four should be one. Yeah.
It didn't say that.
Yeah.
So, is that it, Watchman, or?
Yeah, pretty much. This person said my husband, which is a non-believer, wanted a divorce. Yeah. You know. Well, yeah.
So in that case,
yeah,
I guess.
I guess in that case, but that's why I always say, ask Yah. You better ask Yah. You know, you don't want to be in a situation where, that's why the scriptures and all that get understand, but and it says in all that ways acknowledge him, because you could be in a situation where the scripture says do this, but Yah may say, nope, you remain for a reason. I mean, you may remain, and the Most High may change that person.
Yes.
So that's why you got to hear the Spirit.
Yes. Thank you to the brother who reminded us about the sex on the Sabbath question.
Oh, yeah.
There's a scripture that says on the Sabbath, don't seek to do those things that are pleasing to yourself, but seek to do those things which are pleasing to the Most High. And
that's
everyone knows that would be pleasure for yourself. Having sex on the Sabbath. So if you're going to dedicate that time to the Most High, then absolutely not.
Yes.
That is not something you should engage in on the Sabbath, because that time is for the Most High. Yeah. That time is to be dedicated to Him. That's not the only thing. There are other things as well that you shouldn't do on the Sabbath, but the question was about whether or not you should engage in sex on the Sabbath, and the answer is no.
No.
And the brother says, Jubilees 50 says no sex on the Sabbath as well. So,
see?
Thanks for the biblical reference there, but I definitely know that there is a scripture that says, that talks about not doing anything that is of pleasure to yourself on the Shabbat, and that definitely falls in that category.
Okay. Well, it's getting late, and we are going to get some sleep.
We love you, family, and we thank you all for joining us.
Yes, absolutely.
We thank you all for your input and your questions.
Yes.
And we love you all, and with that we will say shalom.
Shalom, family.
Hallelujah.